Hey, 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 hey. You guys let me know if you can hear me. Starting soon. We've done started already. Hey, Jay, Saba, Bruno, Roto. Okay, so if you don't know, on Discord, we've been doing some live design sessions of Nimble 5e core rules. So we made it through over the past few days. We made it through the heroes book. We have been spending the past few days going through the heroes beta, and delivered version 1.4 of that. And what we're working on now is version, let me update it, 1.4 of the core rules. So we're going through sort of with a fine-tooth comb. I've been doing it with some of the backers on Discord, since it's sort of easy to set things up there on Discord. But a lot of people wanted to tune in and sort of watch later. A lot of people in Europe, a lot of people are working. They wanted to like see the recording and watch it later. So, hey, Sachi, Meat Monkey. I love that name. Howdy, howdy. So, we've made it through stats, skills, skill checks, all of that sort of stuff, and we're into combat now. Reviewing some of this stuff. We had some pretty big changes to hiding and stealth, and then we went over conditions. So what we're going to be looking at now are the optional rules. So going over some of the optional rules. If you don't know, Nimble 5e is a 5e based or 5e compatible new TTRPG system. If you know 5e, it's like, all right, you know exactly what's going on, but it fixes a lot of the frustrations and no excuses. 3 a.m. where I live. Yeah, Saba. Yeah, you got the hero's heart. Also, go to bed if you need to sleep. But no, I'm glad you're hanging out. So yeah, Nimble aims to fix a lot of the frustrations that GMs and players have with 5e, without losing all the cool stuff that people like about it. And if you're into that kind of thing, then check it out. Okay, so additional optional rules. So every table is different, and not every group's gonna have not every table's gonna have a small group or large groups, or not everybody may want to play with some of these things. So these are optional rules for different players to try out if you like. So additional optional rules. If your play group likes extra little tactical nuggets, you can try out these additional variants to add some more spice to your game. Small groups. So GM in a single hero can play with the aid of a sidekick. Sidekicks are an NPC that the hero's player controls during combat, and the GM controls outside of combat. And in the GM guide, there is a note about there's going to be some guidance on DMPCs, so like or GMPC or whatever. So like you are not the focus. You just sort of like can provide advice. The hero leads. If the hero asks you, "Hey, what should we do?" You're like, "I don't know. You're the leader. You're supposed to be in charge." So that kind of stuff. To avoid some of this sort of stuff, it's just sort of more mechanical thing, so that the player's not just sort of talking to themselves. That kind of thing. Can't wait to see the final version. Yeah, me too. I anticipate it'll go well. Starting Dragon of Icefire Peak next week using Nimble beta rules. Awesome. Glad to hear that. Okay, so small groups. So the GM controls the sidekick outside of combat, basically just to, so they're not just like this void following you that doesn't talk and stuff. But it's a player's second character, basically. Sidekicks get 2 actions instead of 3, so they're easier to run. They get 2 actions instead of 3. And they're always 1 level below the hero. If the main hero dies, the sidekick can be upgraded 1 level and hire his own sidekick to keep the adventure going. A GM can optionally allow 1 or 2 sidekicks with a party of 2 to 3 heroes as well. Probably 1 or 2 sidekicks with like 2 heroes playing. That might be okay. Once you get to 3 heroes, you probably don't need them, but if you wanted to have just like one sidekick, like, okay, maybe. But it's an option. It's an option if you just like to feel like you have a more full table. Large groups, this one is pretty interesting. For large groups, adventures are typically balanced for parties of 3 to 5 players, or 4 to 6 players. Somewhere around there is what most like pre-written adventures are balanced for. Playing with very large groups is 6 to 10 or more heroes. And I'm fixing typos and things as we go. 6 to 10 or more heroes can be made far more manageable by limiting each hero's action to 2 instead of 3. No other rebalancing needs to be done. So if each hero gets 3 actions and you have 5, that's 15 actions per round. If you have 10 heroes, twice as many, but each with 2 actions, well, that's 20. So like, it's more, but it's not 40, right? It's not twice as many, or it's not 30, twice as many. And if you have like 7 players, it's 14, so it's roughly equivalent. So no other rebalancing needs to be done. You can play with a lot more players. You get fewer things to do on your turn, but your turn comes around a lot more frequently. So that is an optional rule if you want to play with that. You can certainly play with a large group, 6, 7, 8 people with 3 actions each. But if you wanted, if the GM wants an easier time of rebalancing things, just give the heroes 2 actions. Critical healing, treat healing just like an attack roll. Rolling the maximum is a critical heal. And if you guys have any, so what we've been doing in Discord on these live design chats, when people have suggestions, when they have their questions, just type them in the chat and we'll implement them. So for the heroes beta, people to say, hey, what if we did this instead? Or this doesn't make sense. Rephrase this, or there's a typo there. Fix that. So this is intended to be a two-way collaboration. So I'm open to whatever thoughts you guys have. This is very much a community effort. I think the most experienced player controlling an additional sidekick would work well. Yeah, Roto, that's probably how I would handle it. If you have like 2 players or 3 players and like you maybe have one sidekick, like whoever is the least overwhelmed by like having more things to do, yeah, let them control it. Or maybe the party can just like all say like, oh, let's have him do this. Maybe they all sort of control him. There's a lot of ways you can manage that. Critical healing. Treat healing just like an attack roll. Rolling the maximum is a critical heal. So if you have a D6 healing die and you roll a 6, you get to roll that 6 again, rolling again just like a critical hit. So you can heal more. But if you roll a 1, well, the healing fails. This variant is fun for the right group that enjoys big, dramatic, swingy moments. And if you do this to compensate, so sometimes you'll crit, sometimes you'll miss, like missing a heal is probably a lot more bad than critting on a heal is good. So consider increasing the die size by 1 step. And maybe I should probably clarify. Increasing the die size by 1 step if you use this variant. D4 to D6, D6 to D8, D8 to D10, D10 to D12. I don't know if there's any D10 or D12 healing dice, but maybe there is. I have the high ground. A character that is on moderately higher ground than their target gains +1 damage on their attacks, like standing on the higher slope of a hill. It's like if your melee attacks, you're on the higher ground. That makes sense. Or if you're standing up on a desk or something. If a character is much higher than their target, like in a tree or flying and shooting to the ground, they get a +2 to their damage. So that amount of damage is not enough to like break the game where someone's constantly looking for higher ground and bugging the GM about a high ground. But if for some reason they can fly, well, yeah, it makes sense they could deal more damage. Especially when combined with I had the high ground. Taking a critical hit while at a height may cause a character to fall down. A reasonable strength save may be called for, but a weak kobold may just fall automatically. Very dramatic. So if you got a bunch of like gobos in a tree and you crit them with your bow, they might fall out of the tree. Let's go. How would initiative work in large groups? Great question, Bruno. It would work the same as in small groups. Whoever's ready first just goes first. In regards to what you roll, single digit, you get a single action. Double digit, you get 2 actions. So there's no 3 actions. So that's how that would work. I had the high ground. Taking a critical hit might cause you to fall. So And that makes sense. So there is a big advantage of being able to fly, but if you are crit while you're flying, it makes sense that you might fall to the ground. Or if you're staying in a tree and someone wallops you with something harder than you would expect, you fall out of the tree. So risk reward. Glad that one is optional. It'd be catastrophic to miss. Yeah, it definitely. This is so. Critical healing is not for every table, obviously. So it's an optional rule if anybody wants to. It would be catastrophic to miss heals on a dying party member. Yep. Me and my friend will try to do a campaign shattered start, and we will use the Nimble rules. Cool. Can I or my friend sometime ask you something? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, feel free. DM me anytime, or leave a comment or whatever. Even if I'm not available, there's people who are like up all the time and happy to answer questions and stuff. And there's going to be frequently asked questions as well. And I'm trying to make sure all of the commonly frequently asked questions are like answered in the rules without making the rules like 1,000 pages. So like I commonly point to like Pathfinder, like awesome game for people into that kind of thing, but it is a fully like over 600 pages. That's over like 1,400 pages. In a book that is like this size. So this is my buddy JP Covert's Dragontown. So this is a full size book, and this is like a double sized book. So like this is twice as big. So like the core rules for Pathfinder, and I get there's a lot of features and stuff, but the rules for Pathfinder is like 1,400 pages. So it's pretty intimidating. Core rules for Nimble is going to be pretty close to like 12. And if just like the core mechanics, like there's heroes and stuff, but you don't have to read all the heroes. So yeah, that's not exactly 1-to-1, but the wording is a bit confusing. I had the high ground. Okay. Take a critical hit while at a height may cause the character to fall down. A reasonable strength save may be called for, but a weak kobold, character. Kobold. If you could clarify what specific is confusing about it, maybe that helps a little bit. Claudio, why from a game design point you start with less actions in the first round of initiative? Is not more to keep track of less? Yeah. Great question, Claudio. So we want to be able to reward. So initially that's how it was. So a lot of the questions of like, well, why don't you try this instead of that? We did try that and like it didn't work for X, Y, and Z reasons. So starting with all 3 actions on the first turn is like very, very, very good when the heroes start by default. So the problem in 5e that we're trying to fix is that initiative takes forever. So like some cool dramatic moment happens while you're role playing, while you're exploring, goblins ambush you, and then like 2, 3, 4, 5 or more minutes later, like now we're finally in combat. Like there's this sort of slow, boring, awful mini game where the DM has to pull the players and they have to get everything together and you have to roll a bunch of dice and then the cool moment that happened is long past, and now we're just like playing a separate game. So in Nimble, I want to smush those 2 things together and eliminate the middle thing. Like if I'm ready quickly, I don't want to have to wait for everybody else. So if I know the rules and I'm quick and I'm rolling my hit dice with my damage dice and I'm doing all the cool things, I can't just go. I have to wait for this. Everybody has to wait for the slowest player. So you can only go as fast as the slowest player. In Nimble, you can go as fast as the fastest player. So whoever's ready first can just go. So if the heroes just go first, and all the heroes get to go first, and then the monsters get to go, and they all get 3 actions, well then it really can make combat very lopsided and kind of predictable. So then we either have to make it so, well, the heroes don't go first, or like this and that, and then if everybody just gets 3 actions, then like then what point is there in having an initiative roll at all, right? And that's a good question. Maybe the proper choice is to just not have an initiative roll, but I think that's a core thing of D&D, of 5e, that we don't really want to lose. So the compromise, I think, fixing that requires there to be, the first round is sort of like tactically getting set up. So you might get one action, you might get two actions. If you're really lucky, you'll get like a full 3 actions, which like feels really, really good. So it's a balance thing, it's a speed thing. This solution fixes like a host of other issues with initiative. So that's where it came from. Turn organization just isn't fun. Yeah. So I would typically have like a GM screen with my computer behind it, and I would have clothespins with everybody's name on it, and I'd have to rearrange the clothespins. And someone would tell me like, "Oh, I rolled a 10. All right, you're a 10. You're here." And then someone else would say 12 here. "Oh, I forgot to add my thing. Actually, I'm a 15." And then here, and then I forget where this guy was, and then where the monsters are. And like, it's just it takes forever. It's fiddly. It takes you out of the moment. Whoever's ready first should just go first. Yeah. So. That's what I think about that. You can always do it the old way if you like it that way. But I've not heard anyone so far wish that, oh, I wish we could go back to the older slower rules. Plus, it's really fun to swap turns with team members for combos. Yeah, that's cool. You have that flexibility. Bruno says, in my playtest, the hero's first turn is very, very good. They can set up, they can start clearing ads before they act. Yeah, it's a great advantage. So it's very healthy to limit this with initiative. Yeah, so if you haven't actually playtested it yet, it's hard to sort of visualize how good it is to just always act first. So yes, so acting first and getting like 1 or 2 actions before any enemy gets their actions is really, really good. Imagine that was for the reason of players steamrolling monsters every time. Yeah. So yeah, players will steamroll monsters every time. So therefore, the GM has to like increase the number of monsters or make them tougher, and therefore then really like it's just numbers bloat, right? What about using a different color die for the one that determines whether attack lands? So yeah, so that's how it was in version 1. So if you're rolling like a weapon, like a great axe or whatever, 2d6 that has multiple dice. Initially it was yes. If you have a red die and a blue die, I picked the blue die. The blue die is the one that hits. It was initially like that, but when you're rolling with advantage and disadvantage, that blue die might get removed. So it's just the leftmost die was a simpler solution. Okay, let's keep going. Thrown potions. Treat potions like ranged attacks. This is an optional rule. 10 to 60 foot range. The potion misses on a 1 because if something's next to you, then like you don't have to throw it, you can just give it to them. 10 to 60 foot range. The potion misses on a 1, otherwise it heals for half as much since some splashes away and is wasted. So you save the action of having to like run over to the guy and then give it to him. So that is sort of the balancing for that. Otherwise, you would just always throw it. You never want to walk. Sucker Punch, and I'll fix the layout stuff later. Sucker Punch, a character standing up from prone gives enemies the chance to take opportunity attacks. This makes sense story-wise and adds tactical depth. So it always feels bad, like, oh, someone's prone, and you stand up next to you, right next to you, and like I don't get to do anything. Like I'd spent like a whole thing like knocking this guy down, and he just gets up for free. No, smack him. Playing dead, whenever a hero drops to 0 hit points, they can attempt to play dead by making a contested influence check. And we did change this by making an influence check. And the GM can just set a DC that seems reasonable. They can attempt to play dead by making an influence check or other skill as this skill check as the situation demands. So normally they can fall prone. Let me think. Is an influence check even needed? Like falling prone is sort of its own thing. Yeah. Like this sort of like your performance thing. Like how good are you at like pretending like you're dying? Like if you're here and you're like surrounded by a bunch of dudes and like one of them knocks you to 0 and you don't want to get smacked by all these other guys, like yeah, it makes sense to be able to play dead. I like that. Influence check or other skill check as the situation demands. Inspiration. I know some people don't like inspiration, so it is an optional rule. Whenever a player does something memorable, role play and I think role play is one word. Role play a great moment, make everyone laugh, miss an attack multiple times in a row, or otherwise engages in desired behavior, etc. I don't think we need etc. because we already said engages in desired behavior. The GM can grant them inspiration, the ability to re-roll any single die and they roll in the future. To re-roll any single die. The ability to re-roll any single die. They roll. I don't think we need they roll in the future. Yeah, the ability to reroll any single die. Inspiration expires after a long rest. After a long rest. And I don't think we need to say if unused, and we're going to save ourselves a line, everybody. Look at that. Bam. Okay. Will players still go first if they are surprised or ambushed? So yeah, let's go to the surprise rolling initiative. Reactions. Starting combat. Surprise. Occasionally, a party may maneuver themselves so adeptly that their enemy is completely caught off guard. In this case, the GM may grant the party advantage on initiative, or in extreme cases, they may not need to roll initiative at all. The GM can allow each hero to start the first turn with all 3 actions. Merely being hidden or punching first is not sufficient to gain surprise. If an enemy is on guard or at all aware of your presence, they cannot be surprised. If the party is surprised, and you know what, I think this could probably be, anyway. If the party is surprised, they may have to roll with disadvantage or in extreme cases automatically start combat with only 1 action. So that's what it looks like if the party is surprised. So they'll still go first, but they all just get 1 action. I think it's good to limit groups that do not have more than 1 set of dice. A few groups start with only 7 dice for everyone. Yep. The leftmost die worked good so far. There's no instance. Yeah, it sounds weird to explain sometimes, but like the moment you do it, like, oh yeah, it makes sense. You read that way. People think that way. Yep. Yeah. They roll disadvantage, but they still go first. Per inspiration or per inspiration point. Okay, makes sense. I think the work here is inspiring. What will be your policy on others publishing adventures with your system? Sleaze Stack Jones. It's gonna be very open. The licensing, I've got some licensing stuff like on the docket, figuring that out. It's probably gonna be pretty similar to like the Shadow Dark license or the Orc license or Creative Commons. It's gonna be something like that. As open as reasonably possible. I'd love people to make adventures for Nimble. I mean, they're just 5e adventures essentially. But yeah, I'd love for it to be as open as reasonably possible. Like, I don't want someone just like reprinting the rules and just selling it. Not that anybody would do that. But I'd love for it to be as open as possible. Like, I don't like fiddling with that kind of stuff. Like, when I work with an artist, I say, hey, here's money. Can you draw something for me? And they draw something for me, like no contract or anything. Like, yeah, I can use it. And like when people have to send me a contract and this and that, it's like fiddly, and I don't like that kind of stuff. So that, yeah, do what you want. Is what I'm shooting for. Is that what exactly what it's going to be when all things are said and done? I don't know. There's some things to it that I need to sort out still, but that's the goal. Whenever a player does some grant them inspiration ability. Per inspiration or per inspiration point could be good clarification when inspiration ends. So if you have like, I guess it's possible to have more than 1 inspiration. It's up to the GM, but like any inspiration you have expires once you rest. So I don't know that we need to clarify that too much. Retreat. This is a really good one. It was in the core rules, but it could warp some things, and it could be a little bit weird, but I think that this is going to be like pretty close to a core rule, at least in my games. It's a dangerous world out there. Some encounters will be very dangerous or even deadly. I don't think we should say dangerous twice. It's a dangerous world out there. Some encounters may be very deadly. Not every encounter is necessarily going to be level appropriate. Any player may call for a retreat on their turn. And if the party agrees, unless there's a good reason story-wise, that a party couldn't escape, like they're trapped in nets and completely surrounded by a band of nasty kobolds, the GM can allow the party to retreat from the fight. The GM will give each player a chance to describe what they do to escape the losing fight. It may involve casting a spell to cover their tracks, using a special piece of equipment, a skill check, or simply describing. Reasonable consequences may follow. For example, an additional wound, taking damage as you flee, failing whatever quest you are on. If the treat ideas are particularly good, the GM may allow the party to escape without additional consequence. The embarrassment of retreating is often punishment enough for heroes. And probably it's usually going to be that. I would love it if Nimble has Creative Commons 4.0. I was designing a system with hack and slash with the same mechanic as Exploding Dice, and Nimble will have great mechanics. Probably going to be something like that. I don't know exactly what Creative Commons, what all that means, but I'd love it to be kind of just whatever. Boons. A GM might choose a boon, see a GM's guide, that befits a hero's conduct when they level up. Alternatively, a GM may allow heroes to choose a boon in place of a stat increase when they level up. So it's sort of like feats, and I've got a list of them. It is incomplete. That's something I'm going to be working on next, once the core rules next revision is done. Complex characters. You may allow heroes, a GM may allow heroes to pick 2 different backgrounds. So like some of the backgrounds are like mechanically kind of interesting, and others are just sort of like thematic, and it makes sense. It might make sense for someone to have 2. So those are the optional rules. Let's go to resting and downtime. So this is something that when people first see Nimble, that sort of grates them the most. It's easy enough to ignore the resting rules and rest however you want to in 5e. But I also think that this is one of the best things about it, because as a GM, combat encounters and combat balance is just one of the most frustrating things with 5e, because party goes into a dungeon, they fight one thing, someone loses a single hit point, they spent 1 spell slot, and then, all right, time to rest, guys. Long rest. You can only long rest every 24 hours. Okay, we will stand here for 19 hours, and then we'll long rest. This dungeon is smelly and spooky. You can't long rest in this dungeon. Okay, we'll step right outside the dungeon and long rest. And like it breaks in counterbalance. It's unfun, and like I don't blame the heroes, the player characters at all for like wanting to play optimally. So the solution is removing that quote unquote optimized play pattern from their removing that from their control. So in Nimble, players can only rest at they can only long rest at somewhere where in a safe place designated by the GM. Excuse me. So we'll get to that in just a second. Short rest first. Short rests require at least 15 minutes to catch your breath and tend to your wounds, but could also be a full night spent camping under the stars. Upon completing a short rest, you may spend any number of hit dice to regain hit points equal to the sum rolled. Easy enough. If you rest at least 6 hours with food and sleep, like you're camping in the wilderness, roll the hit dice with advantage. So, there's a big difference between, like, if you're injured, you cut yourself, and you're camping, like, that's not going to heal super good, right? Like, it's bandaged up, you're not bleeding out any longer, but resting in the woods is not the same as resting like at home or in a hospital or somewhere. So short rests are when you spend your hit dice. Short rest, like monks don't get anything back on short rest, warlocks don't get anything back on short rest. Like classes, all classes treat short rests the same. It's for spinning hit dice. It's for spinning hit dice to regain hit points, and that's it. So there isn't like half the party wanting to, let's stop everything to do and just take a short rest. Let's take a short rest. I need to get all my things back. No, none of that. So everybody is on the same page with short rest, and everybody's on the same page with long rests. So long rests require at least 6 hours of sleep in a safe place designated by your DM, typically lodging at an inn, but could also be at a secret oasis, a well-stocked cabin in the woods, near a sacred shrine, or the like. Camping in the open wilderness or in a dungeon is not sufficient for gaining the benefits of a long rest. This is, I think, one of the most important parts of Nimble, at least as a GM. But again, if you just want to rest whenever, go for it. If you're in the middle of a big mega dungeon, the DM and this is GM. I spelled GM wrong. If you're in a big mega dungeon, the GM could easily say, "Hey, you find a sacred shrine or something else," and like, yeah, now you get to long rest. So the point is that it's up to the GM and not up to the players. And that way the GM doesn't have to make every fight be this knockdown drag out. And it also encourages people to go back to town. It reinforces the stakes. These are the fun people that I'm trying to save. You do some cool role playing and do other things. Like it allows for the cycle of adventuring and resting, adventuring and downtime. And it doesn't have to take long. It could just be like, 2 minutes of narrating. Okay, we go back to the town. We're going to long rest, and now we go back to the dungeon. And for adventures and things where like you're on tight time crunch, the GM can give you ways to long rest. There's like magical potions and healers and different things you're not completely limited. The point is that it's in the control of the GM. After a long rest, heroes recover all heroes should not be capitalized. Heroes recover all of their hit points, mana doesn't need to be capitalized, and other class specific resources. Heal 1 wound and recover a number of hit dice equal to their strength, minimum 1. Long rests are a great opportunity for downtime activities as well. Downtime. Love the resting rules. Any plans for exploration base things to go with it for the future? So each of the classes has like different cool things that they can do during a long rest to like retrain their abilities to choose different things. Each class has like a list of abilities that they can choose from. I like Nimble's idea that whenever you can, you spend a few days in town to recover and interact with NPCs, to buy things and so on. Yeah. I think that's something that's missing in a lot of games. But again, if you don't like it, you can skip it. There's a point that a solution is advised to talk to players. No amount of game design can prevent some players breaking narrative in favor of non-constructive optimization. I mean, like if someone really wants to be a pill and like break things and make things annoying, certainly. But if the rules specifically say that player, you are allowed to be a pill and break things in this particular way, like, well, they can point to that. But it's different if the rules say like, no, you can't do that, and they want to be a pill. Like, sorry, you can just say like, hey, sorry, the rules say this. So like for the GM, having the rules on your side makes it easier for you to not be the bad guy. Long rest rules and Nimbles is great. Each time you die, you get each time you drop to 0, you're dying and you gain a wound. So like when Captain America is like backhanded and he goes sent all the way across the thing, or something explodes, like a thing explodes next to the heroes. They don't just like die; they're unconscious. Like no, they're like and they hit the wall and they fall and then they get back up and like they're obviously hurt, but they're still in the fight, right? That's Nimble. Eventually, you have to retreat to avoid death, yes. It gives management's dynamic to the dungeon delving. Yeah, exactly. GM could easily give out a special tent if they felt like they need it. Being up to GM is great. Yeah, there's secret spells also in the GM guide, if you guys want. DMBC don't. There are some secret things in the GM guide. Let's see where that is. Where is it? Monsters, combat and counter design. Where is it? Oh, look at this art. Isn't that's some good art. Magic items. Here it is. So there are some secret spells. So like if you wanted to cast something like Tiny Hut, there's a similar spell, Hearth and Home, that like the GM could give to the players. Like if you're running some campaign, like you can give these spells to them, but there's advice on it for those kinds of things. Like if you did wanted to make it easier. DPC don't. Is there rules for some NPCs getting the die condition 2 instead of dying at 0 hit points? Probably, yeah. For like legendary monsters have a system of what's called last stand. So when they first drop to 0, they may or may not necessarily be dead right away. They something happens, they get a new ability, and they're scarier. So yes, so some legendary monsters have that. Some like named NPCs like King Gregarion of the Nether Realms, like he drops to 0 hit points, like narratively, like maybe he's not just dead, like maybe he's more heroic, like, and then yeah, like you guys, he's dying, like yeah, so that the GM could definitely say, like, no, he's not dead, he's a heroic, He's a rogue, dude. Like your average commoner, your average goblin, they 0 hit points, they die. Downtime consists of generally safe moments in a town between adventures. These are moments to recuperate from a long journey, meet NPCs, collect rumors, buy and sell, research, prepare for upcoming adventures, train different skills, pursue one's own personal goals, flesh out backstories, anything to better connect with a story and its stakes, which is really important. Like, guys, if you don't stop the bad dragon from doing the dragon thing, then the town is going to die. And you're like, I don't care. I don't know anybody in that town. But, guys, if you don't do that, then so-and-so in this town that you love and is your favorite dude in the world, he's going to die. Like, oh no. Like, that matters. That really matters to motivate heroes. It need not take up a lot of time at the table. It may simply be a few minutes asking questions and narrating what happens. So it might be like a week or a month of downtime, like at Rivendell, but it doesn't have to take up a lot of time in the movie or in your game. I hang out with my old uncle who's 11-1, and he gives me a cool thing. Right, all right, back on the road, we're adventuring again. When heroes better connect with people of the world around them, stories can often have more meaning. It opens opportunities to make friends, enemies, be betrayed, have competitions, spend or earn money, show off, and give depth and personality to the characters you're playing. Rest for how long? So like in Nimble, you die when you hit 6 wounds, so basically exhaustion, like 6 levels of exhaustion, but they're called wounds now to just make more thematic sense. So if you ever get 6 wounds, then you die. And every time you long rest, you recover 1 wound. So you might have to rest for a week in order to like really recover. And thematically, that makes more sense. But if your table prefers to largely skip downtime activities and narrate past a week of resting, it's perfectly fine. All right, we go back down and rest for a week. And all right, ready to go. You can definitely do that. Malchus, brand new to Nimble. Are there plans for optional rules for GM and their crews to tailor the rules to the world? Absolutely. Absolutely. The rule number 1 is you can, it's your table, do what you want. Thinking is cool. I'm thinking is cool too for moments like the boss is finally showing signs of weakness for the first time. They are dying. Giving every character one last action to finish him. Yeah, that's cool too. Are there any plans to expand downtime activities to add mechanical benefit like sleeping combinations? Yeah, so in the GM guide, so it's not exactly downtime activity, but in the GM guide there is advice on. Scroll too far. There are like so there if you're tight on money, if you just want to, there are lodging complications. If you like rest at a skeezy place. Is that an okay thing to say? At like a sketchy place, and then if you spend extra money, there are like you can gain extra 10 feet movement speed, like minor temporary boons. Yeah. I do like what Shadow Dark did with like their downtime. I think she calls them carousing. Now let's see what she has. So I don't know that I'm going to expand upon that much in this thing. It might be a little bit beyond the scope. Let's see, downtime. Page 91. If you guys don't have Shadow Dark, I'd recommend it. It's pretty cool. I've never got a chance to play it, but just the ideas are cool. Between adventures, you can choose to undertake one downtime activity, carousing, as a way for you to convert the coin you've earned into XP and other benefits. So that's not a Nimble thing. Like you can do this to like that. That's a very like old school thing to do. But just the ideas are neat. Learning, a character may wish to learn a new skill during downtime. Find a capable instructor. Excuse me. You can't typically learn another class's or ancestry's unique talents, but you can learn auxiliary skills, like a new language, how to ride a sandworm using a harness. I want to do that now. Cool. So carousing is basically gaining XP. So that's basically it. So okay, so it's not as fleshed out as I thought actually. But yeah, she's got a couple pages. Shadow Dark is excellent. Very happy for all her awards. Yeah, cool. Yeah. So I may not expound upon that in this, but maybe maybe in the future. Lodging. The cheapest rooms at an inn save you money, but may lead to complications. On the other hand, some inns may allow you to pay a premium for a nicer room, giving you a temporary boon. Nicer room. And amenities. Giving you a temporary boon. Typical prices. Typical prices. Each person per day. Poor is 5 silver pieces. That's like $5 dues. Comfortable, 2 gold pieces. That's like $20. Or 10 gold pieces. That's like $100. Gain 1 temporary boon the following day. Cool. And that should probably say C. What is that chart called? See lavish lodging boons chart. Yep. See lavish lodging boons table. There we go. Cool. All right, that is resting, you guys. Crafting, there isn't currently anything for crafting, but there are some skills to do that, and it's sort of like up to you and the GM. There's not rules for everything. So something I've said in the past, so like creatures have 30-foot movement speed. We don't need like mechanics around like how to move. Like specifically, like this creature is subject to gravity. It has 2 legs or other appendages, and it uses these legs to push off the ground, to propel themselves forward, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like you just in your life, with your experience, you know how walking or running works. Page number could be nice. Yeah, I'll add the page number probably later, but I don't know what the page number is going to be in the GM guide just yet. But yes, I'll go through that later. So things that you can just like think of and sort of intuit how it works. Like if I want to craft a thing, like, all right, you have to have the things and you have to like, spend some time, maybe make a skill check or 2. So those kinds of things are not spelled out in the rules because I think it would just add page count without really, the juice isn't worth a squeeze. I'll say a business term. Melee weapons, daggers, 1d4 plus dex piercing. So if you attack with a dagger, there's no to hit roll, there's no rolling d20 and then doing this and then checking this and asking the DM and then all of that. Like, no. Roll the dagger. I attack the goblin with my dagger. Roll 1d4. You do that much damage plus your dex. Easy. It is light, so you can dual wield it easily. It has a reach of 5 feet, and the thrown property of 20 feet. 3 gold pieces for a dagger. $30 for a dagger? Yeah, that sounds about right. A hand scythe, a 1d4 plus dex slashing. It is not light, and you can't throw it, but it is vicious. So if you crit, if you roll a 4, you roll, instead of rolling 1 additional d4, you roll 2 additional d4. Cost $100 dues, 10 gold pieces. Sounds about right. Big fan of page numbers? Yep, page numbers throughout. It's just that the GM guide is one of the books that is not that is in a state of incompleteness so far. So the page numbers can move around, and I know you can like link things and stuff, but I'll do that later. Hand scythe, mace. 1d6 plus strength, bludgeoning damage, reach of 5 feet, and I'm going to change it. I'm going to update this to club/mace, because like anybody you could find a good heavy hefty oak stick for like $20. Maybe put like some wrapping around it or something. Yeah, 1d6 plus strength, bludgeoning damage, reach 5 feet. That's it. Hand axe, 1d6 plus strength slashing. That is light, reach, 5 feet, and thrown. 6 gold pieces. Hand axe is 6 gold pieces. Yep, that sounds about good. Maybe if you want to put in an all-encompassing rules for crafting and other longer projects, you may write a paragraph for extended challenge tests where you roll X times to try and achieve. Yeah, there might be like some advice on that kind of thing in the GM book. So in the GM guide, in like one of the very first pages, there's guidelines for edge cases. So it explicitly, it spells out like, what do we do in like XYZ situation? Like you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. Any one of those is fine. So I might expound upon that. Maybe I might expound upon that for like, make multiple checks, But you already have this system of skill checks. You already have the system of saves and different things. You can roll dice. So the GM already has enough tools. And rather than giving like a set of rules that you have to look up and remember and like fiddle with, kind of do whatever you want that feels right at the table using the rules that you have. And I'm giving the GM tools to do that without like, how does grappling work in a blizzard with whatever on ice or underwater? Like we don't need to get super granular about some of these things. I like the simplified economic rules from V1. It makes it easy to explain the value of stuff to players. There is a maybe added just page general items and their value. Yep. That is there. That is on the next page. And up here with before combat money. So the money section was updated a good bit to make it make a bit more sense. So it's just silver and gold pieces, no more copper, because like after like session 0, like do you ever use copper? Probably not. Do you even ever use silver? Probably not, but like it makes sense narratively that there would be silver. And like electrum and platinum, like So 10 silver equals 1 gold. Each hero starts with 40 gold pieces to buy their starting equipment, or you can roll for it. And then instead of like 1 silver is roughly $1, because like, dollars change, and like maybe you live in Mexico and you got pesos or whatever they have up in Canada. 1 silver piece is roughly the cost of a humble meal. 1 gold piece is a sumptuous feast. Yeah, that sounds about right. So we decoupled it from like real world economics to like keeping it all in world. Yeah, we yeeted copper right out of here. My group all knows that Electrum was the bane of my existence as their GM in 5e. Yeah, what is Electrum like? Electrum is a half a gold or 5 silver, right? Yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, we did tweak the money just a bit. Let's keep going with melee weapons. Handsight, club, or mace. Hand axe, short sword, 1d6 plus strength slashing, or 1d6 plus dex piercing. If you're like slashing, like that has to do with strength. If you're like sort of piercing, it's like, are you dexterous? So yeah, I think that's a pretty cool thing. Light and reach, and you can't throw a short sword. Makes sense. 8 gold pieces. I think a short sword maybe should cost a little bit more than that. I watch a lot of videos of like blacksmiths like making things. I think a short sword should cost at least 10 gold. And then maybe a hand axe, because hand axes are pretty sweet. They're light, they have reach, they're light, and you can be thrown. Hand axes are pretty good. Staff, 1d8 plus strength bludgeoning. So it was initially 1d8 plus dex, but it was updated to strength, and that makes a lot more sense. It is two-handed. A reach of 5 feet. If you want a one-headed staff, call it a club. There you go. That's basically what a one-headed staff is a club. Or mace. 1d8 plus strength bludgeoning, two-handed, reach 5 feet. Cool. Rapier, 2d4 plus dex piercing, and I think in 5e it's 1d8, but I think having a rapier be sort of like a long dagger feels pretty cool. And it's not light, and it cannot be thrown. 2 currencies is more than enough. I mean, honestly, like just gold pieces would be enough, probably. But I think silver and gold is cool enough, especially for people who are used to cents. Yeah. Electrum was a collective delirium, is what it was. I don't know what that means, but cool. Jewels become then actually useful to carry more money less heavily. Yeah, and that's actually, I think, how jewels were used. Like, you like gold becomes heavy. Gold becomes really, really heavy. So like you convert the gold into like 1 jewel might be worth like 50 pounds of gold. You can stick it in your pocket. And you're not like jingly jangling. You're not a target for thieves and robbers and highwaymen. We just decided after a while that it was the underground currency that you use for the stuff in the black market. I like Electrum to flavor like, yeah, like that kind of stuff is super cool. And those kinds of things don't need to be in the core rules. You can just say like, hey, this weird setting has Electrum, or like you find this shipwreck and it's got like these weird like things that look halfway between gold and silver, and like you don't even know how much it's worth, and you have to ask someone, and you have to do research, and like, oh, this is called Electrum, and it's worth half of a gold. Well, that's weird. You try to buy something with it, like, oh no, this is associated with bad guys. So, like, you learn that in the story and not as like base rules. Right? Lore doesn't have to be in the base rules. Yeah, I like that. Rapier, longsword, 1d8 plus strength slashing. Longsword, I think like katana. It is one-handed. I'm thinking maybe should it have, like, if it's a 1d8 for one hand, should it have a strength requirement? I think it should. Like, I probably could not wield a katana. Like, if my strength is like average, like a 10 in D&D terms, or like a 0, like no modifier, like I probably couldn't wield. I probably couldn't wield a longsword in one hand. So let's say two-handed. How do we want to say it? I want to say like two-handed. There's no strength requirement. Requires. How do we say it down here? Requires 2 strength. So in parentheses. Requires 2. Oh, it moved it to the next line. Reach 5 feet. Or 2 hands. We did it. We did it. Layout. I hate you. Okay, so longsword 1d8 requires 2 hands or 2 strength. That makes sense. Does that seem fair? Katana is just reskin for a longsword? Yes, exactly. In lieu of, Elminster says, crafting and other outlier scenarios, players may want to engage in. What would there be for new and inexperienced GMs? Could there at least be a blurb for them, a reference? Yeah, I'll think about it. Let me make a note in that GM guide. Notes on crafting. We'll see. It may not make it, but if it does, we'll see. What's your opinion on abstracted wealth? It always seems like weapons cost is referenced during character creation, rarely after. So yes, in 5e that's the case, but in Nimble you only start with 40 gold, so you can't just automatically immediately get the best weapon. So the weapons cost is referenced for longer throughout through like levels 1, 2, and 3 probably. And then beyond that, it's referenced less frequently. So it does matter, at least for starting equipment. So like you don't automatically get the best equipment available to you, or the best like armor and stuff. So it is referenced some. But yes, there are rules for abstracted wealth. I think in the GM guide, if you don't want to fiddle with it, or is it here? I don't know if I added those yet. I think those are just in my my external notes. They haven't been added to the thing. Yeah, like level 1, you can afford these things. By the time you get to level 2, these level 5, like you can afford these kinds of things. Yeah, if you don't want to fiddle with the bookkeeping of gold. I miss a D8 axe and hammer type weapons, but it's simple enough to homebrew. Yeah, so let's go down here. Flavor is free. Could you find a blacksmith to make your D12 Great Maul deal 2d6 or 3d4 damage instead for a small fee? Ask your GM. Can a blacksmith make your dagger deal that much damage? No, sorry. Can you have a all right, let's increase this. Can you reflavor a battle axe? Is battle axe one word or two? Battle axe is 2 words, everybody. Sure. Can you have reflavor? Can you reflavor a longsword as a battle axe? Sure. There we go. We did it. There you go, Double King. There are a lot of types of katanas, though. Some are as small as kitchen knives. Okay, that's cool. I didn't know that. Add a freaky scythe for the anime fans out there. Oh, Claudio. Like this? Yeah, we got a freaky scythe, man. So scythes as an actual weapon, like they don't work. They're like pretty fragile. I think they're basically just used for cutting grass. But this class is going to be able to have a scythe. That is like this subclass's ability. Like he can like conjure this bone scythe, which is pretty cool, and it makes sense because it's magic. Okay. Rapier. Rapiers are light. They don't need they don't need strength. Single-handed. So longsword, that staff, two-handed. Yeah, maybe we could do the same thing with the staff. Copy. I like that. I like the added flexibility of it. Requires 2 strength or 2 hands. There we go. So you can dual wield staves if you wanted to. That's pretty sweet. I think that feels pretty good. Longsword, glaive. So the polearms are my personal favorite weapons. Glaive, 1d10 plus 10 strength, 1d10 plus 10 plus strength, slashing, piercing, bludgeoning. And I had to look up what is a polearm hammer called. They're called lucerne hammers. There's different kinds, but a lucerne hammer is one kind. Two-handed, reach 5 to 10 feet. Way better than most people ever give it credit for, but these things are sweet. Great axe, 1d12 plus strength slashing. Great maul, 2d6 plus strength bludgeoning. And great sword, 3d4 plus strength slashing or piercing. So let me get your guys' thoughts on great axe, great maul, and great sword. So I think great sword should be 3d4 plus strength slashing or piercing. So great sword is 3d4. That makes sense, okay? But a great maul or great axe, which should be 1d12, which should be 2d6. So I feel like a great maul I think a great axe is probably more likely to crit. I mean, a great maul could like just cave in someone's skull. What do you think? Why the difference in price for the great weapons? Because the flexibility of the greatsword is why that one is more expensive. It just in general, swords are more expensive to craft. Allowing it to be slashing or piercing damage does have an impact for sometimes. And then 2d6 is generally seen as better than 1d12. So that is why. I think maul should be 1 die because it's just a bonk. Axe could be 2 because it slashes. That does make sense. We'll keep in mind that in fantasy, You're fighting monsters most of the time. I think a great sword would fail to do significant damage more often than a great maul. Axes are much more similar to swords than mauls are. Yeah, that does make sense. So a maul, a big hammer, and a sword are like opposite ends, and an axe is sort of halfway in between there. You've convinced me, everybody. Great axe. So a great maul should be 2d6. Should be 1d6. No, 1d12. We'll get there. And 80 gold. And then the great axe can be 2d6 plus strength slashing damage. And a hundo. Alright, so let's... Can I just do that? I can't. X? Ooh, I can. There we go. Insert a row below. Can I just... Will this work? Oh, awesome. I love it. So I think up here there is an illustration with using that. So great maul, 2d6. So let's just change that to a great axe. Great axe, 2d6. Great axe, 2d6. There we go. We fixed it, everybody. And then we have to go down here to where the flavor is free. Could you find a blacksmith to make your 1d12 great maul? Oh, it was wrong and I didn't know that. We fixed it though. Deal 2d6 or 3d4 damage said for small fee? Sure, yeah, all right. Let's see. Mauls being bludgeoning can cause more damage through armor in reality, yeah. Yes. Do the additional dice mean additional chances of crit? No. But so the additional dice don't, but the smaller die size does. So you crit whenever the leftmost die lands on the maximum. So if it's a D12, you have 1 in 12, like 8.5% chance. If it's a D6, then you have a 1 in 6 chance, like what, 20% or 15%. If it's D4, you have a 25% chance to crit or miss. So the die size matters. The other two dice are just like additional damage. So only the primary die has an impact on whether you crit or not. And that's in the rules. We went over that earlier today. Did Evan get more almonds? I haven't, man. I haven't. But I do have some amazing avocado oil chippies. So those are too loud for me to snack on right now. Appreciate your note on extended skill checks. I believe that sort of system could be easily abstracted to cover many scenarios. Yeah, I think plenty of juice with a little pulp. Elminster, you are not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. Anyone done the math on average damage with this system? I have indeed. And many people have. And the math is, the surface level understanding of the math is very easy. Rolling a d4 is 25% chance to hit, to miss, 25% chance to crit, and then 50% chance to do a regular hit. But that is only like, so the surface math is easy to understand, which I love, but like the deep lore, the deep math really takes a lot of, like for the theory crafters, it's a lot more subtle and complex than you would ever think. So advantage affects D4 weapons way more than it does D12 weapons. And disadvantage as well. And there's something called standard deviation. So even though two different weapons might have approximately the same average damage, the standard deviation of those two weapons is much different. So like the spread of damage, like what the damage curve looks like is very different. So even though like this weapon and that weapon are going to roughly deal the same amount of damage, like they feel different because the frequencies of rolling different numbers is different. Not only that, but the different weapon die sizes interact with monster armor differently as well. So it's easy to understand for new players, but super deep and really, really cool for people who like to dig into the numbers, like figure out the best thing and like, which of these weapons is the best? Like, so I love that about it. It's not complicated to understand, but it's really deep for people who like to like think about that kind of stuff. Wondering what the formula is for missing and crits exploding. It's fairly straightforward, and I've ran a bunch of battle sims and calculations and spreadsheets and all sorts of stuff. So like the numbers are solid. Let me go once more on weapon price. All polearms are the same price, but vary in damage type, so the damage type doesn't seem to cause price change. Yes, so it's more the flexibility of the die sizes, like multiple dice or slashing and piercing. So yes, all the polearms. So it's basically one polearm, and you can just pick which damage type you have. But for the commander, they do get an ability where the damage type matters, and they can like specialize in a particular damage type. So they get weapon mastery. So your attacks with slashing weapons cannot miss unarmored enemies. Your attacks with piercing weapons ignore medium armor, or you can do different things. It has different cool interactions, and some monsters will interact differently with like slashing weapons, like oozes and stuff. So the damage type does matter sometimes, but them all being D10, I think is okay. Would you say the 20 to 40 GP is about accurate? Sure, yeah, if you wanted to say that'd be fine. If you wanted to say 100, I'd say seems high, but sure. If you wanted to say 5, okay. Like if I was at your table and you said 20, I'd be like, all right. If you said 50, I'd say, okay. like any of those is fine. And like you at your table, you know the context of like what's going on and like how much gold they have. Like, is that worth about a health potion? Sure, I guess. Or if the blacksmith doesn't like this guy, or if the blacksmith really likes these people, then like, yeah, that you can change it. But the blacksmith can change dice, great weapons for a small fee. Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. The problem is with D10 weapons, there's no D5, where it could be like 2D5 or 1D10. So with D8 weapons, you can do that. And I think the polearms have to be D10 weapons, and the great weapons have to be D12 weapons. So some of this is just a limitation of physics, and there isn't like a clean polyhedral way to have D5s. And if there were, then that'd be cool. And I did think of doing something like a D4 plus D6. But then like we're getting a little bit weird. Maybe that'll come back, but like you can combine different dice. You don't have to have the same dice, but I've always found economy to be quite willy-nilly indeed. Things cost how much people are willing to pay. Like if the blacksmith says $100 and they say, what, $100? Then you might say, hang on, how about 50? Like, let's negotiate. that might be it. Or make it a quest for a special material that's easy to, content, baby. Tell that to Dungeon Crawl Classics. Bruno, I don't know what that's a reference to. Is that a reference to like different die sizes, like combining different ones? I've not that's one of the ones I don't have. Oh, those weird die sizes. Yeah, don't they have like D32? I have some, but like, do most people have those? Like, I would probably rather do a D4 and a D6 before I did like 2D5 or something. Like I have D11s and D13s, and like I've been cooking on this for a long time. Yeah, the D3, D5. Yeah, in reality, those numbers don't matter all that much. Like with a little bit of design, you can obviate the need for those. Let's look at range weapons, guys. Sling. D4 plus Dex bludgeoning, two-handed. Not you use a sling with one hand, but you have to have another hand free to load it. 10 to 90 foot range and vicious. And costs 2 gold pieces. Because it's basically just it's a very simple device. Javelins, 4 javelins, 1d6 plus strength, range 10 to 60. Stack 4 throwing hammers in case you want bludgeoning damage from range. You can have that. I couldn't think of a way to have like slashing damage from range other than like maybe like Xena Warrior Princess's frisbee blade. But that might be too much. That might be in the weeds a little bit too much. You know what? I'm gonna add a note. You got me thinking again. Pole arms. D4 plus D6 question mark. We might do it. We might make it happen. Let's go. Let's take a detour. Let's take a detour. Dice.run. Okay, we're taking a detour, everybody. Properties. Okay, we got it. Okay, this is Dice Run. Dice.run. If you guys never seen it, pretty cool website. So let's see what the expected value of 1d10 is. So the average is going to be 5 or 6, obviously, and the curve is flat. Let's do 1d4 plus 1d6. The average is 6, so it's a little bit better, but you're more likely to miss. Ooh, I kind of like that. I kind of like that. Shuriken can be slashing. Shuriken feels a little bit more like piercing to me. Like, if it slashes you, it's like a grazing wound, but if it's like, oh, it got me, Frisbee blade, chakram, is that what it's called? That's cool. You guys ever see Xena Warrior Princess back in the day? Ghostbait, hey, Brandon. Boomerangs slashing. Boomerangs are definitely bludgeoning damage. They will bludgeon little rabbits if you're hunting them. So you guys tell me in chat. What do you guys think about changing up some of the pole arms? I think that's kind of cool. I think I like that. I think I like that. The batarang. Yeah. Oh yeah, I have Edward. I haven't seen that show in probably 20 years or whenever. So I do not recommend it. I do not endorse it. I'm just my childhood memories are bubbling up. So I don't know anything about it anymore. I probably wouldn't recommend it these days. Let's go back up here. So what if the glaive? So Lucerne hammer could be the D10. And the glaive is sort of like a sword on a stick, right? So maybe that could be 1d4 plus 1d6. Now what could the spear be? TV has changed a lot. I mean, it is kind of cool, Roto. Yeah, it is kind of cool. Depends on how granular you want to get with weapons. Like, not super granular, but just the ability, just the thought that, oh, I can roll different dice at the same time. That's kind of cool. We roll dice for both weapons. Then maybe maybe the spear could be 1d6 plus 1d4. Is that clear? That the d4 would be the primary die and the d6 would be the primary die? I kind of love that. Throwing spear is basically a javelin. A throwing spear is a javelin. With these changes, will the primary remain the leftmost die or the first die listed for damage? So up until this point, it's always just been it's been the same die. So it's just the leftmost and the first. So it's the same. But now it's going to be the first one listed. I think that would I think that makes sense. Yeah, whichever is the furthest to the left is the one. The flavor is free, sum up to the same value of 12. Do you think it would be good to clarify that in the text? I don't know that I don't know that we need to, but should we? They all add up to 12. Ask your DM. I don't know. I don't know. They all add up to 12, so it won't break the balance of the game. Ask your GM. Can a blacksmith make your dagger deal that much damage? No. Sorry. Can you reflavor longsword as battle axe? Sure. Piercing usually has the lower dice to allow for crits. Yes. So piercing, yes. Piercing does have the most critical chance. So spear, yes. So spear should be 1d4 plus 1d6. Thank you. You are correct. 1d4 and then 1d6 plus 1d4. I kind of love this. And I'm going to put the first one first just so that everybody can sort of see these are D10 weapons. Insert row above. Here we go. Bam. Lucerne hammer, 1d10. And then the great maul is 1d12. Yeah. Yeah. Since the spears replace a pike, yeah, so people are saying like pikes are like 15, 20 feet long. Yeah, a spear that size is quite large, yes, yeah. Jim's got a homebrew, that's just what we do. That example is essentially upping your crits and minimum damage, yeah. Any die that summed equal to the maximum, yeah. Not a math person, but doesn't 3d4 and 1d12 crit at different rates, so they aren't just flavor? Yes, so the average damage is roughly the same, but the crit chance and mischance is different, yes. So you are correct about that. But it's all roughly a d12's worth of damage, is what we're saying. It's like a 4 plus 4 plus 4 is 12. 6 plus 6 is 12. So 2d6, 3d4, and 1d12 is roughly equivalent. Let's look at the ranged weapons. Javelin throwing hammers, short bow, 1d6 plus dex piercing, two-handed, range 10 to 90 feet. And in 5e, the ranges of things are like really, really long for realism. What is the range of a bow in 5e? Short bow. Yeah, 320 feet. Okay. Yeah, so that like if you're using 5-foot squares or whatever, like if you use a battle mat, that's like off the table. Like you're in the kitchen. You're not even in the dining room any longer, right? So like, is it realistic? Yes. But can it? Is it? Can you game that way? Not really. So the ranges of things just in general have been brought down to much more tactical, physically doable sizes in Nimble. And they're generally in increments of 30 feet, so this much space on the table, so you can easily say 30, 60, 90 feet. You can measure it really quickly. And then 120 feet is the longest with a longbow. The crossbow in D6 and D8, and the crossbow in handheld ballista. So there's no more hand crossbow. I don't know why someone would want that. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm open to arguments, but so there's no more that thing. But we do have a crossbow, and instead of heavy crossbow, it's a handheld ballista. So crossbow is 4d4 dex piercing damage, and it's two-handed, and it takes, so that's essentially 2d8 worth of damage, so twice as strong as the longbow. So twice as strong as the longbow, half the range, and it takes one action to load it. So action to load it, an action to shoot it. And then the handheld ballista requires 2 strength, again, same range, but it takes 2 actions to load. So some ballistae would have like cranks on them. You have to like crank it like and then that would draw back this super heavy cord or line or whatever, and then click. And then so 2 actions to load it, and then 1 action to shoot it. But it is the amazing, super spicy 1d20. Woo, 1d20. Like, that's just fun to roll 1d20. Cool. Hand crossbows were not real weapons in medieval times. Good to know. I've got history on my side. Shouldn't weapons more able to get through armor have the lower primary die? So Lucerne hammer should have 1d4 plus 1d6. Like you could argue it either way. Like what I was imagining, like you've got your dagger, and like the plates of armor, like it slips in through the plates of the armor to like just deal full damage more often. Or and it also like can just like dink bounce off the armor and do no damage at all, right, on a 1. A more reliable weapon like a hammer. I don't have a hammer. Like a more reliable like a hammer, it's less likely to like just ignore the armor, but just it's more likely to do some damage. So that's my thing. It's like it's gonna do some damage and not just crit or not just ignore as much. So that's my thinking. This also means there could be 2d4, a d4 plus d8 weapons. Yes, you're not wrong. What if? Where was it? D4 plus D8 optional weapons with top damage of 12. Yeah, maybe a greatsword could be something other than D4. Yeah, because like having the greatsword as D4 doesn't feel right. Like D4 feels a little bit fiddly. But I mean, I guess D4 like greatsword, you might just like lop off someone's arm or something. Should greatsword be D4 plus D8? Are we getting too fiddly? Let me think about that. D12 has more regular damage, while D3, D4 has higher crit chance, but crit, yes. Hand crossbows were not real, read that. Someone was asking in chat earlier about advantage with multi-dice weapons. Maybe she would be clarified that only the primary dice gets advantage somewhere. So yeah, that is clarified, in that's earlier up in the rules. Where is it? Roll. So to do this, roll 1 additional die of the same type and remove the lowest. So here, great axe, 2d6 with advantage. So you would add 1 additional die and just remove the lowest. So you roll 3d6. What's the lowest? Remove that. Which is the left die? The left die is now this 5. You hit. Great axe with 2 stacks of disadvantage. You roll 2d6. You add 2 dice. You just roll 4, and then you'll remove the 2 highest now since you're rolling with disadvantage. And you're left with a 1 and a 4, you miss. So it's super simple, goes super quick at the table. You just add an additional die for every stack of disadvantage or advantage. That is super duper covered. Super duper covered. All right, so those are the weapons. Let's look at armor. So there's unarmored / common clothing. So it does not cost money to be unclothed. But if you want to buy an extra set of clothes, it costs 5 gold. Mostly to clarify if there are different damage dies with the same weapon. The D4 for the spear. Oh, okay, I see. Julian Jenkins. Yeah, changing the pole arms might be more worms than I'm willing to open up. Let me think about that. So robes get +2, +3, +4, and it's relatively pricey. So like the armor, the defense that robes can provide is minimal. Then leather is +3, 4, 5, 6, so it has a higher end. And then mail is 7, so it goes by 2, 7, 9, 12, and then 15. Is that a typo? It should be. Should be by 3s. Should be 6. Excuse me, everybody. 6, 9, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12. Yeah. So that's great. That was a typo. And then plate goes by 4s: 10, 4, 18, and 22. And then shields 1, 2, 3, 4. And shields also have the additional benefit and I'm probably going to relay this out just a little bit and add the note here that shields, shield benefit. So you can just reduce, so once per round, like if you have an iron shield, you can just like, just reduce, just subtract two damage from any attack, just without defending. So shields have a little bit of additional utility. Like having a shield is a big deal. Mixing damage dice feels like a cool optional rule, but I agree it's too much for the core rules. Maybe, we'll see. Heavy, yep, that's those rules. And to take a call. I thought I said, I don't know how broken it could be, but in combat, it could be more simple if advantage you just hit, don't worry, disadvantage you now miss on a 1 or 2, something like that. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, feel free to make a system like that if you want. This system, we're already far enough along, and like this has been play tested by many thousands of people at this point now, maybe tens of thousands. So I'm not wanting to. I don't want to change something that core just yet, but like as a homebrew rule, that could be cool. So this is a mouse ritter. So this is how they do it. Mouse attacks. Mouse attacks. Attacks always hit. Roll your weapons die and do that much damage to an opponent minus their armor. So mouse ritter works a bit differently. So we've taken inspiration from this game for some things. When an attack is impaired or disadvantaged, such as firing into cover or fighting while grappled, roll a d4 for damage regardless of the weapon. So that's what they do. When an attack is enhanced or advantaged by a gambit or a vulnerable opponent, roll a d12 as your weapon. So that's a cool way to do things as well. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can get across advantage and disadvantage. Rolling one additional die and just removing the highest or lowest is super clean, super clean. Yeah, Double King, I'm mea culpa. I'm so sorry. I might roll it back. I might keep it. We'll see. We'll see. So those are the armors and things, and these require strength. These do not add to your dex. Doesn't impact plate because you're sort of just standing there, right? Adventure equipment. Well, what about these? These are not all the items available for purchase. Merely a sampling. If you can think of it, you can likely buy it. Let's look at the prices first. Actually, 5 gold pieces. 5 gold pieces. Okay, so immediately I'm seeing errors and bad things. So how much should a set of clothing cost? Maybe 2 gold. Adventurer's clothing, however, should cost a little bit more. 5 gold. Minor enchantment, 50 gold. Major enchantment, 1,000 gold. Yeah, that feels good. That feels about right. Leather, cheap hides. So the idea is that at level 1, you can't just get everything that you want. You can pick, by default, you should be able to get at least the baseline armor for your class. So like 10 gold out of your 40 starting gold. That makes sense, and a shield. But you can't get an iron shield and rusty plate, like the upgraded shield and plate and the weapon that you want. So there's trade-offs. So you can get rusty scrap and an iron shield, but maybe not the best weapon, or like a leather buckler, rusty scraps, and the best weapon, right? So you have to choose. So you're incentivized to sort of think smartly about it. So you could get oxhide, and I think oxhide might need to be a bit more expensive because a rogue could just immediately get that pretty reliably. Because their weapons are just D4. So oxide, maybe make that 25. Cheap hides should probably be more than 1 gold piece, at least 5 gold pieces. Yeah. Yeah. Elminster. Yep, you read my mind. You're the first person I've ever seen suggest that game. Mouse Ritter is fantastic. 11 out of 10. I don't know that I would run like a long campaign for it, but if you're like into game design, if you're into if you're into anything like that, then it is a must buy. It is a must buy. It is so cool. Like this is so. Let me just show you. This is. So this is Candlekeep Mysteries. It is a anthology of like different adventures. So an adventure in this, one shot in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 pages, like 14 like chonkin pages of content. So as a GM, I've got to read all of that before I can run that one shot. This is a Mouse Ritter one shot. Ooh, we're close. This is a Mouse Ritter one shot. The front is like a cool flavor thing. The back, sorry, bumped the mic. The back has adventure hooks and a summary. The library that once hummed with dozens of ticking clocks has fallen silent, all except for the steady rhythm of the ticking tower. Inside, the clockwork automata have kept it alive long after the maker disappeared. Alas, hungry spiders have made the tower their home. They pester the automata and feast on the foolhardy creatures attracted by the tower's magical atmosphere and lure of treasure. Spider Queen Zipporah has become intoxicated by the tower's magic and obsessed with the pursuit of immortality. It is into this unfortunate rift between spider and automata that your little mice are about to blunder. Okay, so cool little flavorful thing. And then on the inside, there is a list of encounters. These are all the monsters you need. These are the stat blocks. Like, look at that. Tiny little stat blocks. And then it says, wind up. This is the stat block for this little dude. Wind up automata. 3 hit points, strength 8, dex 4, will 12, armor 1, attack d6, arm flail. And it knows the grease spell. And one thing that I love about it, if you can see here. So yeah, we're off in the weeds right now, but that's okay. Is this backwards for you guys? Might be backwards. Yeah, it's showing backwards. It says once. So every creature has a want to help the GM as they're playing this. Once. He wants to keep the clock running on schedule. So if the mice, if the hero players, if they ever do anything that would hamper the clock from running on schedule, then automata will attack. The spiders, they want to feed its babies and serve Zipporah. Queen Zipporah, she wants to gain the forbidden knowledge of immortality. So right away, I know how to roleplay all of those things. So this flap has encounters. So you might encounter D6 automata making repairs, 2D6 automata marching in a line, a clockwork golem, a cursed mouse explorer trapped in a time loop. That's cool. D6 spiders weaving a web, D4 hungry spiders looking for prey. So these are all the encounters you might have. And then here on the facing page are treasures that you might find. And then these are special conditions for this adventure only. So sticky web, time sick. So you can get time sick, and you can move too fast or you can move too slow. And then the entire adventure, guys, the entire adventure is on like 1/2 of one page, and it is oozing and packed with flavor, and it's like they're fun and cool, and it's not good for a new GM. But if you've like ran like 2 or 3 sessions before and you kind of get it, these little things, like this is the best way I think to have an adventure. I might lean for like just a few more words, but I would lean heavily away from like the 15,000 words or whatever, like 1,500 or 2,000, 3,000 words. I don't know how many thousand words are in like regular like one-shot adventures for D&D. Like it doesn't have to take that long to prep a really good adventure. And I think these adventures are better because they're shorter. You don't get into all the weeds. You can sort of follow the players where they go without being stuck to, oh no, there's these 7 NPCs that you have to meet because I spent 3 hours preparing this stupid thing, right? Oh yeah, and did I mention it comes in this beautiful box set? So and I've got both box sets. So there's a box set, there's the core box set, and then there's an estates thing. You don't need both. The estates just has more adventures. If you end up running Mouse Ritter and really enjoying it, then yeah, you can. I would recommend getting the other one. But and the inventory is as cute as can be. Like the inventory is actually like you have a character sheet, and let me see if I can find a character sheet. So this is a character sheet, a half sheet of paper, and your inventory is actually like how much you can carry is actually like you put these little things. You put these little things in your little backpack, or like this is the armor you're wearing. Like, isn't that is just precious? These are all your stats, and like it's super cool. Like if you're into game design at all, I'd highly recommend at least trying it. It's not something I would play long term, but as a one shot with my buds, like every once in a while, if you want some inspiration, oh yeah, we're cooking. We're cooking. It doesn't scratch the itch of D&D, but it scratches like a very similar itch for me. Can I get an aerial glaive like in Monster Hunter? Yeah, you definitely can. You definitely can, Brandon. Will there be guidelines on scaling starting gold for higher level campaigns? Sure. If we go up to the Moni section, a small introductory village quest could be worth 1 to 50 gold per hero. Levels 1 to 2, levels 4 to 10. So like if you're starting at level 10, maybe each hero has 5,000 gold. Yep. Let's look at the rest of the gold things. I hope that was that little jaunt was helpful for you guys. That looks so awesome. It is cool. And not only that, but it comes with like these little envelopes that with like a backpack drawn on it. So like between sessions, you can put your character sheet and all your little tokens, all your little items inside the backpack. So you could store it for later. It's basically a great open way to have things in mind that helps players avoid combat. I don't know what that's about. Oh yeah, the once. So AC doesn't exist anymore. Technically, armor is simplified massively. Yes. What you see on this armor item screen will be your armor plus bonuses from your class. Yes. So yeah, armor, how armor works. Armor represents your hero's ability to dodge or block damage. Your armor is typically dex plus any equipment or effects that may grant additional armor. See page 28. And it reduces incoming damage only when you use the defend reaction. So there's a new reaction, defend, so you can sort of choose when you take damage or not. Defend yourself. If you're standing right next to a baddie with an axe and you're not doing anything to defend yourself, chances are you're going to get axed. Okay, so that is what armor is. So rather than like I can just fall asleep and wake me up when it's my turn again. No, there are special there's reactions you can do. So monsters will typically just hit. They just roll the damage dice. You assume they hit unless they roll a 1. But you assume they hit, and you can defend. You can interpose. You can do other cool things. That is what makes like it exciting. It makes it fun. It makes it go faster. Like I'm not rolling to hit and doing all these fiddly things. If you just Google the backer kit page, you should be able to download the cool rules and read more about it if you're new to it. Do you have any game design online courses or video creators to recommend? Maybe books specifically on the topic. Just read just read a lot of games and play a lot of games and start tinkering. There's a really good podcast from Teo Sapadilla and Sean Morin called Mastering Dungeons. Mastering Dungeons here on YouTube, and it's just a podcast also. You can listen to where podcasts are. They talk about all sorts of cool stuff. Like they've reviewed like they're two like veteran game designers. So they talk about game design stuff a lot. And if you just like watch any YouTube channel on homebrewing and this thing and that thing, fixing things, Dungeon Coach is great. He does a lot of homebrew stuff. Like anytime someone is talking about homebrewing, they're game designing. And I would specifically focus on things that are frustrating to people, because that's a space where you can fix things. How would you roll brass knuckles? What kind of damage would you use? That would definitely be bludgeoning, and I would treat it as either as like a D4 bludgeoning or D6 bludgeoning. Like you could reflavor a club or a mace, but if someone wanted to have if they wanted to be a D4 D6, I'd say either one of those is fine. And so it would be light, reach 5, not thrown. That's what I would do for brass knuckles. Adventuring equipment, healing potions. So healing potions are one action. And it heals a little bit more. So in 5e, it's 2d4 plus 2, I think, or 2d4 plus 4 in the whatever it is. But so there's, instead of 4, there's 3, because I can never remember which there's superior or greater, and I don't know which was greater or superior, which one is bigger or better. But healing potion, greater healing potion, supreme healing potion. Clear. You don't need that much granularity. And it's 2d4 plus 4, 3d6 plus 6, and 4d8 plus 8. So a bit more reliable. And it's just fewer dice to roll also. You don't have to roll find 12 d4 or whatever. So in the flat bonus is a little bit better as well. And the prices are fairly reasonable. And if the players are buying too many, the GM just says, hey, the town ran out. They don't have any more. You guys just have to take damage. Crowbar, it's like a key, 1 gold piece. A vial of pitch, very flammable. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. Be creative. Rope, 50 feet. You always need rope. A chain, 10 feet. It's like rope, but stronger and heavy. 5 gold pieces. Bucket also works as a hat in a pinch. 1 silver piece. Padlock and key. Lock it or lose it. 1 gold piece. I think that should cost 2. A bucket should cost 5 silver pieces. It takes a bit of craft. Mirror for Medusas and spinach teeth, 2 gold pieces. Telescope, 10 gold pieces. Magnifying glass. I think a telescope is like $1 million in D&D. Magnifying glass that make the small big, 5 gold pieces. Yeah, it's basically half a telescope. Chalk, not just for kids. Period. 1 silver piece, yeah. Shovel, sometimes you need a hole dug. Pulley, pull down, go up, 5 silver pieces. Ooh, no, that should be at least 1 gold. Probably 2 gold. Grappling hook for climbing or catching big fish. 1 gold piece. Yeah, that's got to cost more. 4 gold pieces. Whistle, very loud. 1 gold piece. Let's say 2. Saw for cutting lumber. No, saws. So yeah, a lot of these are just a little bit too cheap. Soap is useless. Strange plant. Who knows? Who knows? Shiny object. Worthless but very pretty. 1 silver piece. Lock picks. Just in case. Let's say. Let's change this. They not mine. Honest. They're not mine. Honest. Lockpicks, 1 gold piece. They should cost more. They're a bit illicit. Yeah, 5 gold pieces. Lantern and oil for when it's dark. Yeah, 3 gold pieces. Bell for service. 1 gold piece. 2. Dice, lots of fun. 5 silver pieces. So we have to be consistent with the punctuation, guys. Punctuation. There we go. Cool. Come on. Blanket, warm and fuzzy, 5 silver pieces. A hunting trap, snap, snap. Don't lose figure. Okay, those are the things. Pulley got cheaper. No, it didn't. Oh. What was it? Gold pieces. There we go. Now it's more expensive. Do potions crit? They can. There is a there are optional rules for critical healing if you want. It was in. We talked about this earlier in the stream. If you want to take a look at that. How much work that goes into making most of these things? Yeah, like how complicated. So like thinking about a lock, like someone making a lock in medieval times, that kind of thing. Every adventures kit needs a fishing rod to sidetrack the adventure into a fishing competition. Yeah. Pulley got cheaper. Confirmed. Spyglass has always been incredibly expensive to see twice as far. Chick says. Unlisted sight distance. Thank you everybody for catching the typo about the pulley. Played Goblin that used soap on a wood bridge to make pursuit slip off. Yeah. Useless. For visibility, Jay Thompson pointed out that the pulleys cost... Oh, yes, thank you. Rope should be a lot more expensive, like 5 gold pieces or 1 gold per 10 feet. You know what, you're right. Yeah, rope is rope is very expensive. Rope should be 10 gold pieces. $100 for rope? Yeah, back in the day, yeah. And then chain is going to be 50 gold pieces. Yeah. You're right. When you're right, you're right. I saw a blacksmith like making chain. I've seen people like make rope, and yeah, it takes. It's not trivial. Bucket. Yeah, bucket should be 1 gold piece. Padlock key. You guys. Mirrors. Yeah, mirrors would be like 4. Telescope. It's kind of like a mirror. Chalk, 1 silver piece. Shovel, 5. Ooh, shovel. Now shovels. Shovels should be 3 gold pieces. Pulleys. It's just the pulley part, so yeah, the rope it'll add a little bit more. Grappling hook. Whistle. Soap. Strange plant. Shiny object. Yeah. I think hunting trap has got to cost more than 5. It's got to be 10 at least. Well, a blanket, so if clothing cost 2 gold pieces, a blanket should probably cost a similar. Let's say 1 gold piece. We did it. Yeah, I'm not reading all that. I don't know what that's about, but... Magical items. Spell scrolls. Spell scrolls are single-use inscribed magical spells. Casting a spell with a spell scroll does not cost mana, nor does it require a magical ability. Anyone who can read the language the scroll is written in can utilize it. Reading one aloud takes the same number of actions the spell normally takes and consumes the scroll. A character must succeed on a DC 10 Arcana check. And I'll go ahead and bold that, just so, like someone's scanning this, they're going to want to remember that. To cast it successfully, if they do not already know the spell school. On a failure, it is wasted. Spell, tier, and typical price. So these were updated as well. Roughly balanced off of how much, so there is a tier 1 healing spell, and this has been balanced off of how much a healing potion costs. So it's a little bit cheaper than a healing potion because it requires knowledge of that spell school or an Arcana check. So there's a chance that this fails. So it's a little bit cheaper. So tier 1 spell, cantrip 10 gold, tier 1 spell 35, 100, 300, 1,000. So roughly tripling. 3,000, 10,000, 25,000, 75,000, and 200,000 for tier 9 spell. And again, these are just typical prices. You can tweak them in your world if you want. Wands, I think, are one of the most interesting thing. Wands are the most interesting thing, I think. Like spell scrolls, these can be used to cast spells without consuming mana and do not require magical ability. Unlike spell scrolls, wands can be recharged and used again. Characters proficient with them can use wands from any spell school freely, spending the normal amount of actions to cast the spell. Characters not proficient in wands, so basically non-spellcasters, must also make an Arcana check equal to 10. Excuse me, guys. Plus the spell tier to successfully cast the spell. Typical wand prices and examples. Cantrip. So the wand prices are basically 5 times the cost of the scroll. Scrolls are single use, so they're 80% off. Wands can be reused over and over again, so they're much more expensive. And you can find spell scrolls or wands just as treasure quest items. How are they recharged? Great question. So here's a wand of fire step, so a cantrip. So you can use it 3 times. Heat the wand in a blacksmith's forge until it glows and quench it in oil. Okay, so it's basically you can recharge it during a long rest fairly easily, but it's much more thematic. Like, oh, I need to find a blacksmith. Oh, I need to ask him, hey, can I borrow your forge for a little bit? And, so it involves some cool stuff. Wand of Void Cloak. So this is a necrotic spell. 2 charges. Place the wand in a freshly slain corpse. Leave it until only bones remain. Like, ooh, like how am I going to recharge this? So like recharging these becomes a quest in and of itself. Like maybe you find a cool wand, but it's got no charges. Now I got to learn about it. Now it's a quest to recharge it, so I can do cool stuff. And the higher the tier of the spell, the harder it is to recharge it, or the more of a quest it is, at least. Wand of Fly. Give it to a wild bird and let it fly freely. Retrieve it wherever the bird drops it. Wand of Icebound Aura, a tier 4 spell. Leave the wand at the bottom of a lake until it freezes over. Cool. Like, oh man, it's so cool. It's way better than, like, recharges. Regains all his charges at the next day. Wand of Ride the Lightning. Place at the highest point within 1 mile. Retrieve after 3 thunderstorms. That's a tier 6 spell. But it's cool. Elder Worm's Majesty. This is a legendary wand. 1 charge. This wand can cast dragon form, turning into the type of dragon that last charged it. Give an ancient dragon a gift it truly desires. Now, like, if my party found an Elder Worm's Majesty that's uncharged at level 1, like, that is what the entire campaign is about. We find an ancient dragon, figure out how to get it to not eat me when I talk to it, and then figure out what it wants. That is a quest. That is an awesome quest. And then Heartwood, Splinter of the Tree of Life. I've got some cool art for this one already. Cast Redeem with no required components. Redeem is the tier 9 Radiant spell that basically revives everybody within like a 1 mile radius that's died within the past, like, I don't know, however long. Recharge. A sacred hymn must be sung over it ceaselessly for 100 years. Like, oh, man. So like an entire government. So the headcanon that I have, I've said this before, but the headcanon that I have is that like every nation has like a splinter of the Tree of Life, and they have like a whole like department of their kingdom devoted to like singing this hymn, so that every 100 years, like, so that like this can recharge in case the war breaks out, they can like revive their army, you know. And like throughout history, wars have happened roughly every 100 years, you know. So like that's a really cool thing to do, you know. And maybe a quest is like disrupt the hymn that they're singing in the bad kingdom so that their wand doesn't recharge. Like how cool of a quest would that be? So way cooler than, oh, a +1 sword, a +3 sword. Wow. No, way cooler than that. Here's some more magical weapons. And if you guys have feedback, please, I am looking for feedback. 0 missing in 10,000. Thank you for that feedback. A comma's missing in 5,000. Where's a 0 in 10,000? Thank you. I love the way these items recharge. So much flavor infused in this. Yeah. Okay, let me be devil's advocate, though. Are these recharges quests worthy of the number of recharges you get? Yes. So that's something that can certainly be taken into account. So I think like you can definitely tweak it. But these are things that are more like aspirational and signpost for the GM. So like something with a cantrip might have 3 charges, a tiered spell might have 2, and like a tier 9 spell or really high level spell might have 1. So it's more guideposts and recommendations. Yeah. Let's look at some weapons, and definitely open to feedback on these. So, well, what if like I do want like a +1 weapon, like something that's less like something I just use. Here we go. Weapon of Animosity. Whenever you attack with this weapon, roll an additional animosity die. The weapon deals that much additional damage to your target on a hit. Whenever this weapon misses, you take that damage instead. Oh, now it's cool. It's cool because, like, are you going to attack with this 3 times when you're low on hit points? Because, like, every time, so you attack normal, you attack with disadvantage, you attack with two stacks of disadvantage. So are you okay with taking a d4 of damage. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. Maybe you have Vindication, Limitless Animosity. I don't like that. Boundless Animosity. There we go. Yeah, 1d12 psychic damage. You take, and that ignores armor. You take this damage on a miss. Bodies take a long time to turn into bones, like a couple of weeks with bugs and stuff. Found a guy, died in his... Okay, I don't want to know on that. Ugh. Yeah. And I mean, if you're like, if during any given short rest or long rest, you're like resting in town for a week, then like, or maybe you figure out like, how can I make this body decompose faster? Like, not to get too gruesome, but like maybe you do that. Maybe you find some bugs. I think it's for the parties to decide that if they think it's not worth it, then yeah, it doesn't become a quest. And yeah, they can sell it. Like the prices for these wands, like, oh, it's tier whatever wand, I can sell it and make some gold and buy whatever I want. So those are cool magical weapons. Weapon of many hands. This is acid bath. Here now we're cooking, right? How am I gonna get a bathtub full of acid? Or an ooze? Who knows? There we go. Ghost bit. Read my mind. While equipped, this weapon, here's the art. While equipped, this weapon grants the wearer additional arms. What? The wearer can use the extra arms to perform any task their normal hands can do, wield equipment, grapple enemies, climb, etc. But and everybody's thinking like, oh, does it mean I can make extra attacks? No, it does not allow the wearer to perform actions any faster. These extra appendages may be off-putting or horrifying to people in polite society, so a little bit of a drawback. So an uncommon weapon of many hands might give you one extra arm, but then here's this one. There's a legendary one. It's actually a set of glaives, Harbinger and Sovereign. Did I spell that wrong? You didn't see anything. Harbinger and Sovereign, Abyssal's Claim. A set of 2 matching glaives, plus 4 extra arms while both are equipped. All right, so you've got your normal 2 arms, right? Let's do some math. And you've got 4 more, actually you got 6 arms. So in one set of arms, because glaive is a 2-handed pole arm, you're holding Harbinger. In the other set of 2 arms, you're holding Abyssal Sovereign. And you have 2 arms, maybe you're holding 2 shields. Like, how awesome is that? So you're dual wielding glaives. Whack, whack, whack. Like, how awesome is that, first of all? And then you also like have like shields. Now, if that isn't like the coolest weapon ever, extra arms, yes, that means you can dual wield 2-handed weapons or wield more than one shield. Or grapple 2 different creatures while hitting them both at the same time, or hitting them against each other, or any number of other creative things provided you have the arms to perform the task. Weapon of Wounding. When you land a hit with this weapon, you may suffer 1d6 damage to deal twice that much additional damage to your target. Weapon of Ill Omen. While equipped, you have -1 to will saves and +1 to your spell save DC. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Mind Link Daggers. This pair of daggers enables the sharing of thoughts between any who holds or is stabbed by one. So I have 1 dagger, you have 1 dagger, I have 1 dagger. I stab you with 1. I can read your thoughts. Cool. I think there's a pun to be found on magical item art with extra hands drawn in AI generative art. Yeah, I hate AI art. This one was indeed drawn by a person. Your lightsaber. Oh, hello, General. Hello, General Kenobi. Your lightsaber will make a fun addition to my collection. What if for the wounding weapon, the target of the attack that was hit takes 1d4 damage per turn until the die rolls a 1? That would be cool for like a video game or something, but anything that you have to track over multiple turns is super annoying and super fiddly. So I avoid that. So damage over time is really cool for video games like World of Warcraft, that kind of stuff. But for a tabletop thing where everything is manually done, it's super duper fiddly, and I avoid any kind of damage over time stuff. What he's thinking? Oh, I've been stabbed. Or what's this pain if I can? I mean, that might be the surface thought, but yeah, could you find out more? Probably. And interestingly, these are not necessarily items that every party is going to have, but like these are items that the DM or GM could give to the bad guys. The players have some cool plan. One of them gets stabbed, and all of a sudden, all the bad guys know like they're anticipating every one of our actions. Like, oh, and then like I want to defeat the bad guy and take his daggers. The depth that weapons have now with the way damage dice work is astonishing to me. How did you come up with this system? Yeah, I just over time. Over time. There were lots of other revisions. It was like there was one that was like only rolling the d20, and the higher you roll in the d20, like you do different things. But yeah, just sort of multiple hands means the character can count to more than 10. Yeah, more than 20. Not wearing shoes. Okay, so I think we're going to end it there. It's been about 2 hours, everybody. Appreciate all the good feedback and helping me find the typos and stuff. Probably will continue with some of these other things tomorrow. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Sounds handy. Yeah. All right, guys. See you later.